Good morning. My name is Gluchowski. I am the CEO and founder of Meta Labs. We are the company behind ZK Sync. And for the last 8 years, we've been focusing on building the incorruptible financial infrastructure on the crypto rails. And today I want to talk about this idea. And this is indeed what I believe is the core promise of crypto, what crypto can offer to the financial institutions to upgrade their business models and business offerings. Briefly about ZK Sync, you might know us already as the pioneers of ZK on Ethereum. We are one of the largest, in fact, second largest RWA infrastructure ecosystems today in the world, with over $2 billion worth of RWAs. And we are a leader in the institutional adoption of Ethereum technologies, with some of the largest names from Deutsche Bank to Fidelity to a recently announced ADI Foundation from Abu Dhabi, bringing the entire nation on chain. And the reason I'm here today is we just published yesterday the white paper as a result of an industry initiative we conducted with over 30 global financial institutions, including Deutsche Bank, Citi, MasterCard, and some of the largest names you know, on the topic of previdiums. And I'm going to introduce it now. We have it at our stand at the booth downstairs. Please come take a look. The reason we have so many institutions who are interested in blockchain technologies is they are facing what I would describe as adopt or die moment. There is a huge mounting pressure from the users and customers of these financial institutions to change and to deliver the financial services in a way that users are familiar with from the internet, that are instant, always on 24/7, and have the trust and reliability that are way higher than what the existing financial systems can deliver, who are like oftentimes still operating on a T+2 model. And the reason the pressure is mounting is because the traditional finance is facing competition from blockchain systems. And so blockchains naturally offer the path forward to it, to upgrade. The problem is that today the blockchain technologies space has been bifurcated in two completely separate design spaces. We have the public blockchains on the one side with Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the other chains like claiming at least the properties of an open space with verifiable, credible neutrality, hard finality guarantees, and composable interoperability. Like it's a neutral space where everyone can come and participate and interoperate. And this is fantastic. Like we have the open standards, barriers of entry are very low, like everything can come together in this global digital economy. But these blockchains are missing some of the core properties that are non-negotiable for financial institutions, including the full enterprise degree of control of what's happening on this infrastructure. Like from the throughput to permissioning to the KYC perimeter to various other aspects of the systems, including very, very importantly, privacy, the control over the exposure of the data and data exchange and who can see it, and various other compliance requirements that are different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So there is no all-size-fits-all solution that could solve all of that at once. And what this paper is talking about, what we're presenting today, is the first architecture that can credibly bridge the chasm between the public and private domains in blockchain. The architecture is called the Previdium, and what Previdium is, or what Previdiums are, is it's private enterprise blockchains that are secured by cryptography, not trusted validators, and that are anchored to Ethereum, so they derive the security from ZK cryptography, and they derive the hard finality guarantees from Ethereum layer 1, giving them something very unique in terms of the solution space. So the properties you get from Prevediums, like what you get from it is complete enterprise-grade control over all aspects of your chain, from the sequencer, transaction ordering, to who can transact, to governance properties, like complete everything. It's your sovereign chain, including enterprise-grade privacy with granular access control of who can see the data, who may transact, who you can export the data, like on individual basis, on a per smart contract basis, and so on. Yet with public verifiability, thanks to ZK proofs. You can expose some of the data to regulators to meet your compliance requirements, and to your customers to offer something like verifiable proofs of reserves, and you can back it with cryptographic proofs without disclosing all of the rest of the data on the chain. And finally, very importantly, Prevediums, and most importantly, actually, like what distinguishes Prevediums from legacy attempts of building enterprise private chains is the direct protocol level interoperability with other Prevediums and with other public chains without having to rely on trusted third-party bridges. So how it works? Basically, there are two pillars that Prevedium is built on. The first pillar is the ZK proofs. So Prevedium is a private chain. You run it in your infrastructure, on your servers, in your private cloud, on premises. You don't have to export it anywhere. But then for each block or a batch of blocks, you generate a cryptographic proof of correctness that provides mathematical guarantees that all the transactions in the block were executed correctly. And then these proofs are sent to Ethereum, and the transactions or all blocks are settling on Ethereum, reaching hard finality. And this is really these two combinations. You cannot get one of the other. In fact, the ZK cryptography is the HTTPS moment of blockchains, or specifically of Ethereum. They extend Ethereum with the privacy and scalability and connectivity between different domains of private operation that businesses need to thrive in the modern digital economy. And this is very similar to what HTTPS has done for Web 2. HTTPS brought privacy and direct connectivity, where you could talk from any point in the world to any other point, to your bank, to your healthcare provider, to your database, not caring who is in between as intermediaries, because you don't have to trust them anymore. The cryptography takes care of this. The same exact thing is happening with ZK. This is really at the core of what is possible with this architecture. So let me talk about these two aspects, about privacy and connectivity, and how ZK is making this infrastructure incorruptible. Like, what does incorruptible really mean? If you think about privacy, there are like several ways how you can achieve privacy. You can send your data to someone and sign an NDA agreement with them, and then hope and pray that they are not going to disclose your data. We would call this not privacy, but like rather confidentiality. True privacy requires that the data never leaves your systems, never leaves the infrastructure under your physical control. And this is what institutions need, like sometimes ordered by law and regulations. Like banks have to operate their own infrastructure for this precise reason. They cannot disclose the data to anyone and then hope that it's not going to be disclosed, because there is no physical guarantee that it's not going to be disclosed. So now think about this. Consider a system where you only can see a subset of the data that belongs to you, or like your users. You disclose it to like each individual users, only their transactions, only their contracts, and so on. How can they be sure that like what they see in this subset has not been manipulated somewhere else? Like, how do I know that someone has not minted out of thin air $1 million and then sent it to me, and all I see is like, okay, someone sent this amount of money from their account to my account, but do they have this money there in the first place? Does it belong to them in the first place? I cannot have this guarantee unless I trust the entire system. And so like you either trust that whoever operates the system is doing it correctly, which brings us back to the traditional world. Like we're nowhere near the verifiability of the blockchains where you can directly guarantee that the entire system is incorruptible. Or you use something like ZK cryptography, which gives you mathematical guarantees. Because it's impossible to execute a transaction that is invalid. The ZK proofs you won't be able to generate a proof. And so the Ethereum settlement layer won't be able to accept the block which contains invalid transactions. So, and this is what gives you this incorruptible privacy. Like you physically control the data, but the entire system remains consistent and valid. But this extends to all the other systems in the network, which gives you the incorruptible interoperability. Because if any single system cannot execute invalid transactions, that means that no other system that operates on the same protocol can do the same. Meaning, like all of the chains in this network are executing correctly. So basically you can trust any other chain exactly the same way as you trust your own personal chain without having to see what's happening there. So the reason we have the T+2 in the traditional financial world, where it takes several days to send a transaction, is specifically to guarantee that whoever is sending you this money actually has them. But this is not necessary anymore if you have ZK proofs. The moment you generate the proof, you can just accept the transaction from anyone else and apply it to your blockchain. And this is what gives you this network that can expand infinitely, preserving this incorruptible interoperability with atomic transactions without relying on trusted third-party bridges. And it works for any assets, because you don't have to rely on bridges and liquidity providers. You can just take any asset of any size, of any token, and send it anytime to any other point of this entire network, and it just keeps expanding. And the reason this is happening now and not before is because it was just this year, basically just recently, that ZK has become real time. The ZK technologies have been with us for multiple years. We at ZK Sync, we've been operating the ZK rollups since the beginning. Like we were the company that created the very first ZK rollup on Ethereum 7 years ago. We were the company that brought the first ZK EVM to Ethereum 3 years ago. So these systems were operational. The problem was that they were slow. Like to generate the proof on the first generation of ZK EVM, it took something like 1 hour. Now this time has compressed to several minutes, like 20 minutes, but it's still not good enough for blockchains. In the blockchain world, in the crypto world, people expect instant settlement. You click the button, it has to work. Just this year, we came up with a proving system called Airbender, which is today the fastest open source RISC-V ZK VM in the world. And last week, we unveiled the Atlas upgrade to the ZK stack of the ZK Sync blockchain development framework, which brought 1 second ZK finality, which is a massive breakthrough. And it also brought, because of the prover is so fast, we can now do over 15,000 TPS, which is double the Visa's average, annualized average transaction load, at a tiny fraction of a cent proving costs. Proving was also quite expensive up till 2025. So this is now the time where these systems become really usable for mainstream adoption with this fast, like 1 second long interoperability between different systems, full privacy, and enterprise-grade control. And this shift has now begun. The institutions that are in the early stages of embracing these technologies will shape how they're going to be developed and how they're going to be moving forward. So I encourage you to check out the QR code, which is going to give you the link to this paper, or just come to our booth downstairs and take a copy and talk to us. Thank you for your attention.